Hello, good morning, and thanks again for welcoming me to your homes. This is the morning update on TVXYZ and also on Wazor TV for those of us who follow our conversations on social media. Just follow us by looking for your Facebook page or YouTube. This morning, we are very happy because at least we can also join Ghanaians in commending government for the import of the first batch of vaccines. We are told around 7 a.m. today, the first consignment will have arrived at the Kotoka International Airport. We'll try to go there to monitor the activities, and if any of the government officials will be speaking from there. Of course, as the vaccine arrives, there's a lot of anxiety. One question that is on the minds of people is that one of the sections of this economy is not doing so much. And the reason is very simple. They are not equipped to do what they must do. The National Commission for Civic Education is expected to have gone all out across the country, educating us on the vaccine, and especially those who are harboring suspicions and fears and maybe contemplating that they will not be part of the exercise, may be changing their minds. We have the papers, we'll be discussing the details as headlined with you, and we will be going to the northern region. There's something happening there. I'll tell you much about that when we return after this break.
The average human body mass should have at least 60% water for optimal performance in any physical or mental exercise. We can help you maintain it naturally. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural.
Welcome to AutoCheck Vehicle Diagnostic and Licensing Center.
I hear my car can be checked here without going to so many or Accra.
Sure. Emission, check.
Alignment, check.
Brakes, check. Visit AutoChecks at Koforidua Aquadum Road for the roadworthiness of your vehicle, from saloon cars to heavy-duty industrial vehicles. Madam, your car is now ready for the road.
Thank you so much.
AutoChecks.
AutoChecks, check.
AutoChecks, your safety, our priority.
Check. AutoChecks.
We are one man short. Should we invite him?
Yes.
It be old cargo.
Can I join you guys?
Yeah. Always drink fresh, natural, X, mineral, water.
You still got it.
Always keep hydrated naturally. That's my secret.
Manufactured with the primary aim of preserving nature's finest minerals necessary for a healthy mind and body. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural.
Welcome back. This is the morning update on TV XYZ and Ways TV on Facebook and YouTube. You can also just search for us on your digital TV sets, or if it's satellite, then that's even perfect. You get very exciting pictures. This morning, we are here again to share with you what has been reported in the newspapers. I have the Daily Graphic, I have the Business and Financial Times, the Herald newspaper, the Dispatch, the Inquisitor. Very exciting headlines here. But today I'm doing this with a man you know very well, and today he's taking that seat. Wisdom, how are you?
I'm well, Eric. How are you too?
I'm also fine.
I can see the excitement. COVID is some way, somehow. We have the vaccines coming in.
Yes, the vaccines coming in is not only the solution. The solution is our readiness to take the vaccine and still go with the protocols. You know, when I sat down, I crossed my fingers. The only reason is that I was trying to cover my stomach. Because when I saw yours, Charlie, you be perfect gentleman. No? Is it that you don't eat? Or
I eat a lot. At least my...
Or you are not healthy?
I'm very healthy, Eric.
But if I see your stomach and the watch
you know, we have different types of...
and the watch you consume on daily basis.
It's people say that's good, good sign of deception, because you look at me and it's as though I don't eat, but don't try.
Let me tell you something. Several years ago, I think over 20 or 25 years ago, when you have big stomach, they call it pot belly. Yeah. Many people thought it's a sign of good living. But today, people have pot belly and they want to hide it. Please, my cameraman, if you can hide it small. I'm sure by next 2 months, it will go down.
You told somebody that last week, by this week, it will be gone. Now you've added 2 more weeks.
Okay. When you go home and you smell okra soup in the kitchen and the akpana is there and you are not disciplined, it can be 1 a.m. and you still go for it. Welcome to this platform.
Thank you, Eric.
What do you have in your papers?
So I have the Chronicle this morning, and it says, help me fight corruption in public life. And that's what the president is saying to the Council of State. Remember, yesterday, the president he inaugurated the 8th Council of State members, and this was in his address. Many are questioning why there were a lot of issues on board, and he only spoke to corruption and galamsey.
Now, I think many of those people may not have taken their time to go through the hard copy or soft copy of his address. What I remember is he touched on a number of issues. He talked about galamsey. He made reference to corruption. He talked about the need for the members of the Council of State to be bold. He talked about helping him to improve governance in his second term. I remember he also spoke about the need for them to be truthful and help shape the nation-building agenda by looking at how to bring on board everybody. So there were a number of issues there, but people may be interested in corruption because they think that there are other issues he could have exposed.
So the question they were asking is that there are a plethora of issues that if the president can pinpoint and single out all of these ones and address specifically, not necessarily all of them, but you singling out corruption and galamsey. Many says that the fight against corruption, the fight against galamsey, it's something else. And so why then do you go back and rehash these things?
I can understand those people. But you see, this is a simple ceremony. There are members of the Council of State. You have brought them together. You are going to swear them in. It cannot be compared to, let's say, an address before Parliament or maybe a major address to brief the state about where we are now. And so I can understand them, but there are several different platforms he can use. So let's hope that when those come, the president will at least address the concerns they are harboring.
Well, the Ghanaian Times also has the same story. It says, let's fight galamsey corruption together. That's what the president is saying. That story details is on page 16 of the Ghanaian Times. Also, mixed reaction greet COVID-19 vaccines. Story details on page 18. And High Court restrained picketing at Jubilee House, SC, and easy.
And
Remember,
what is on the back page? Football.
So the back page has to do with some Liberty revenge against Heart of Oak. You remember?
And when are they playing that match? Is it today? Today is Wednesday.
Yeah, today is Wednesday.
Well,
this midweek there are games, and this weekend also there are games. But I mean, Liberty professionals, let's see how it goes for them, because Heart has not been in a better position this season. But it's early days yet.
You are in Accra, so if you talk about Heart and you don't speak well, they will deal with you. Daily Graphic has on its front page a story related to the swearing in of the members of the Council of State. And unlike the Chronicle and the Ghanaian Times, which chose the angle of corruption, the Daily Graphic looks at it differently. It says, Council of State takes office. President asks for honesty, truthfulness, and all what they can do in their advice. I'm paraphrasing the headline. The minority demands clarity on public enterprise ministry. COVID-19 vaccines arrived today. And the big story on the front page of the Daily Graphic is about LGBTQI. Say no to homosexuality. And it says Christians, Muslims, and the clergy declare teachers, traditional leaders angry. And so Christian and Muslim clergy are declaring that government must say no to homosexuality. Teachers, who are actually the ones who may have been used to smuggle it through the, is it the, whatever, CSE, what is it? What is the full name for CSE?
You know, there are a lot of, I've not really followed, but
it is comprehensive sexuality education. You know why I'm doing this? When somebody was defining what is fishing, you were laughing.
I'll try my
now
best.
CSE, you are
no, but you see, Eric, this is abbreviation. This is abbreviation, and so you cannot fault me. So if I say EKA, it could be what? Enlargement Kingdom Association. It is also Eric Kokua here. So abbreviations.
So that's it on the front page of the Daily Graphic. Now, if you move to the center spread of the paper, it says develop policies to ensure food security. And this related to one Dr. Robert Aidu, a consultant who was addressing participants at a 2-day validation workshop in Accra. The back page of the paper talks about filth in Accra, and look at how it was captured on the back page of the Daily Graphic. And the story here makes reference to several streets in Accra where you see rubbish. And there it is on your screens, which have taken over almost all the streets. Look, we are talking about Accra becoming the cleanest city. I monitored the vetting of the minister designate, and she talked about the need to set up a sanitation fund, either by levying every Ghanaian, or government sets up a special account to put in funds for the fight against the filth we see on our streets. It brings to mind how many years many of the sanitation agencies you have seen in this country have worked. Since 2008, 2009, we have known a lot of sanitation agencies which are helping to keep our country clean. And I believe that there is an aspect of the District Assembly Common Fund that is dedicated towards sanitation. So if after all these years, we have done so much, and now we are thinking about setting up a fund, I can only suspect that that fund may be a conduit for people to steal more from the state, not specific to this government, but generally as a concern that we have harbored over the years.
I can't agree with you more, but again, we can also look at it from this perspective. These are individuals, when they feel that my money is into something, then, like it's often said, where your money is, that is where your heart is. And so for me, if we're going to set up a fund to make sure that we clean our country, it is possible. Now, you see how people manage street lights. When you pay your bill, there's a component of it that goes into the maintenance of street lights. And so people will say that, okay, because I pay for it, let me ensure that it is safe and secured. And again, so the question which really we need to pay attention to is the commitment of government, not this, but previous and successive government, in ensuring that we keep our country clean. Yes, we've heard the promises. The former sanitation minister, what didn't we say? What didn't he say to Ghanaians? That they're going to ensure that there's cleaning in the communities. What happened to the first month cleaning? You remember during the administration,
yes, there was something they called the monthly sanitation.
We clean our markets, our gutters, and all. What happened to all of this?
There was a sanitation day exercise. It is one one of the best policies whoever is behind it must have done. And I remember at that time, I think Mr. Julius Debra was the local government minister. Now, this was an initiative Ghanaians should have embraced. At that time, people deliberately stayed off because the thinking would have been that I don't belong or I don't have my whole commitment towards a particular regime, and so I don't care. There were threats, people were arrested, people were punished. Then there was a changeover in terms of one government to the other. Now, if this was a brilliant idea, in my opinion, it should have been sustained. And the other side, which would have been the NDC in opposition, because they started it, should have been seen, if it had been sustained, to be driving it. By this time, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, it would have woven into our fabric, and we would have known that whenever it's a month ending, we'll clean the drains, we'll sweep our streets. And therefore, if we have the filth as captured on the back page of the graphic here, and you know that every month or every week, you are going to clean your streets and remove debris in your drains, you would realize that you will begin to think about what you need to do to make the workload less easier.
Less for yourself.
Less difficult. And by so doing, you would have started putting in measures to prevent people from indiscriminate disposal of waste, as we see.
It's very disturbing. I use the Medina stretch almost every day because I live at Oibi, and so the Medina stretch, I use it every day. Eric, it will shock you that in the middle of the road, in the middle, you see huge heaps of refuse, and then they write, "Do not dump refuse here," boldly. So I ask myself, what is the assembly doing? And you see people seated right under that particular place, and then they are selling their produce. And I ask myself the question.
I have driven through communities before, and I have seen people sitting, and you have the sanitation staff, and is it Zoom Lion or something, sweeping their communities. And this is Teshi Nungwa area. You drive through what they call Mami, and people be sitting by the street, and these are their homes just facing the road. And then you have government spending money to pay people to sweep the front of people's homes, and they continue to litter, and nobody is sanctioned. I don't know what is happening to the sanitation courts.
It's very sad, though.
There'll be more to discuss later when we start the newspaper review segment. I told you if the ceremony to receive the vaccines begins at the Kotoka International Airport, we'll go there briefly. As we speak, Wisdom is getting ready for the news. Wisdom, what's in your news today?
Lots of issues happening. I'll be telling you about the Council of State issues, which really is on the agenda. Because people are asking, what really is the work of the Council of State?
We'll talk about that after 7 o'clock. What else?
And a whole lot more. I won't tell you.
The news will continue shortly.
Many thanks for your time this morning. Coming up, farmers to protest on Independence Day over indebtedness in spite of resumption of payment. A newly sworn-in Council of State members tasked to uphold truth, honesty, and boldly confront national issues for improved governance. And EC fixes April 4 for Nkoranza North and South elections. To the details, and the first tranche of COVID-19 vaccines are expected this morning at the Kotoka International Airport. Meanwhile, a cross-section of the public is expressing worry over the lack of public education ahead of the nationwide vaccination against COVID-19. This concerns follows misreaction following rumors about disturbing side effects, including possible erectile dysfunction for men.
Ghana's first consignment of the vaccines through UNICEF's facilitation is expected to arrive by Friday. This is from COVAX facility in India. According to the Ghana Health Service, COVAX is supplying about 12.4 million vaccines, while the African Union has pledged 8 million. The Tony Blair Foundation and other bilateral agencies are also expected to support the exercise, projected to benefit about 20 million Ghanaians. But with barely a week before the doses arrive, a section of the public is expressing fear the entire exercise may fail to achieve the intended purpose because of low publicity. Those who have been speaking to TV XYZ News fear some Ghanaians may not avail themselves because of uncertainty arising from the information gap.
So it has made people very truly afraid of the vaccine because everybody have a perception that the Western world want to use the black for something else. So we want the government to recome again and explain it very well for the understanding of the ordinary people.
I think more awareness creation and education on the benefits, and then also we should hear of other people who have been vaccinated and how beneficial it has been to them. Maybe that will inform our decision to join in the exercise.
Among the first to receive their jobs are government appointees, health officials, MPs and influential Ghanaians as strategy to allay fears among skeptics. TVXYZ News has learned Greater Accra, Ashanti and Western regions will receive priorities in the rollout because of the prevalence rate. Government is also considering the Moderna, Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson's vaccines. Besides the AstraZeneca vaccines approved by the Food and Drugs Authority, government has also placed orders from Russia. Ghana is the 31st country in the world and the 5th country in Africa to register for the Sputnik V vaccine.
And Ghana will from Monday, March 1, begin administering the COVID-19 vaccine. Now, a total of 350,000 vaccines are expected to arrive to start the vaccination process. We shall bring you a longer conversation on this development in the next segment of this morning's program. Now, President Akufo-Addo has challenged the newly sworn-in members of the Council of State to stand by their oath of office and boldly confront governance issues to help improve his second term. He believes the appellate body's role can be more effective if truth stands in all their deliberations.
At a brief ceremony, Nana Akufo-Addo challenged the newly constituted members of the Council of State to be, as he put it, proactive in the nation-building agenda. He referred them to major challenges still confronting the state, and these, he said, include illegal mining activities or galamsey, corruption, and the need to enhance efficiency in the public sector. He called for bold steps in their guidance to help improve Ghana's democracy and the quality of life of ordinary people. Nana Akufo-Addo also prayed their input will help enrich his second term.
You've come from different backgrounds: academic, business, judicial, political, professional, religious, security, traditional, and otherwise, and have a wide range of competencies and expertise. Moreover, many of you served in the past council, which was so ably chaired by Nana Utuo Sribo II, Dwabehene, from 2017 to 2021. To the new members of the Council, I wish you a warm welcome to its deliberations. I'm confident that you will bring your considerable wealth of experience to bear and make valuable contributions to its work.
Dwabenhene Nana Otu-Srebour, who was the former chairman of the Council of State, spoke on behalf of the newly sworn-in members.
We observe the good rapport and dialogue between the Council of State and the Presidency, as well as Your Excellency's determination to respect the Council and its advice at all times. We believe that regard for each other ensured mutual respect between the two sides. We pray for such relationship to exist between the 8th Council of State and the Presidency. Be assured, Mr. President, of our commitment to give fair and sincere advice at all times.
The Council of State elections was held across all 16 regions on Friday, February 12, except for the Bono East region, where a court injunction was slapped on the process following a petition by some assembly members in the Atebubu, Amanteng, and Kintampo North districts. Western region also failed to elect a representative because of a tie, but the incumbent Eunice Bua was eventually retained after the rerun.
Now to some fresh development as critics put pressure on President Akufo-Addo to declare his stance on gay and lesbian promoters in Ghana. And critics say the mere closure of the LGBT office is cosmetic and are demanding a public statement through National Broadcast Government Directive to send a strong signal to actors, especially foreign diplomats financing such activities. There have been an agenda to stoke public debate, but security analyst Paul Boateng believes many of those openly declaring support, especially the youth, are merely asylum seekers looking for opportunities, including visas to Europe and the Americas, under the guise of being prosecuted for money. In an interesting twist, a relative of the president, Gabi Asare-Ochre-Darko, believed to have huge influence in Nana Akufo-Addo's government, is asking the public to be careful in stigmatizing LGBTQI activities. In a Facebook post, he wrote, "You don't have to be pro-gay to appreciate their situation. You only have to be human. Let us be careful and not generate an intense hate campaign against homosexuals. You can speak for the law and culture minus hate." Meanwhile, the Chief Imam's office has also joined the public condemnation. It is asking the president to publicly speak out against the demonic practice. Now, the Electoral Commission is set to hold an assembly election for assemblies and unit committee members for Nkranza North and South District on Friday, April 16, 2021. A press release issued yesterday by the Commission has subsequently directed all prospective candidates to submit their nomination forms to returning officers in their electoral areas between Tuesday, March 9 and Friday, March 12. The office shall be open between 9 a.m. and midday and from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. on each day. The statement said nomination forms are available at the district offices as well as the EC's website. There is a growing agitation among cocoa farmers, some of whom are threatening to embark on a peaceful demonstration on Independence Day next week, Saturday. Their protest is over cocoa bot indebtedness, which barely comes a day after payment of license buying companies began. But some of the farmers are still skeptical.
The Ghanaian phrase cocoa season is said to have been derived from the cash inflow from LBCs through cocoa board payments each crop year. Delays, as was witnessed last year, has had huge impact on most dependents, especially those in deprived communities who need the monies to pay bills, start small businesses to sustain them during the lean season, and other basic needs. Though Cocoa Board has just resumed payment of debts, a group calling itself Concerned Farmers Association fears the exercise may not cover all and that Cocoa Board could be using the ongoing exercise to avoid parliamentary scrutiny into their activities when the chief executive, who has been summoned by Parliament, finally appears before the House. Farmers yet to receive their monies are now threatening to embark on a peaceful march on Independence Day to register their protest. Let's hear some of their concerns.
There is lack of funds for us. In most cases, not every year that our cocoa used to yield. Okay. It is seasonal challenges that we had. Maybe it may rain. Next year it wouldn't rain. Okay. So if the amount that we need to assist our children in school, if we didn't get that, that means they will stay with us.
Sika cocoa kakra ya ye kura no yenya sika cocoa na ka mwesi ame ba kura ka eche o school menya sika mpo mane no fra no fra me nso menya sika mane no they say they are dia maye kuafo no pa ai dia maye they say ye hu ne ye.
According to them, there is no indication or assurance from LBCs yet about when they will be paid, contrary to the impression created by Cocoa Board. But the leaders of the group are assuring them of some effort to get their issues addressed.
Meanwhile, MP for Buem, Kofi Adams, who first raised the issue on the floor of Parliament, says he feels vindicated. Mr. Adams says his personal checks confirming ongoing payment, the exercise must strictly be monitored to ensure all affected persons get paid.
Last week, Minister-designate for Agriculture, Dr. Efriye Akoto, assured the appointment committee licensed buying companies will be paid this week. True to his word, that has started. Complaints about heavy indebtedness and the resultant impact on poor cocoa farmers was raised on the floor of Parliament earlier this month by MP for Buem, Kofi Adams. Though his colleague MP for Efutu, Afenyo Makin, had a contrary opinion, the Speaker, after a heated debate on the floor, summoned the Cocoa Board CEO to answer questions. The development raised eyebrows, especially after the whopping $1.3 billion syndicated loan raised for the 2020-2021 crop season. TVXYZ News can confirm some LBCs have been cleared. This was corroborated by Kofi Adams in a telephone interview.
Bank of Ghana paid, and some of them that I spoke to have been indicating that there is progress in terms of payments to them. So they would also quickly, once their account gets activated, release funds to the various regions and teams for payment to the families. I'm happy that the Speaker took this serious and asked that management of Cocoa Board should appear before and therefore this COVID issue that made that appearance for the committee of who is possible, that would have equally happened. But thank God that we followed up, pressure was brought there, the farmers also responded positively, and now we have had some respite.
The rippling effects of the delay on poor cocoa farmers is huge, especially because they depend heavily on proceeds after yearly harvests. MP for Buem says, while the pressure from Parliament has paid, there is the need to push further for sustainability to make the industry attractive.
Even my colleagues who put the statements themselves knew, and I knew some of them were actually involved in business. They are doing business with Cocoa Board. Some of them are in the haulage business, and they are also affected because without paying the LBC, the haulers will also be paid. And so it is not just the farmers that were suffering, but those in the transport industry who were hauling the cocoa beans from the farm point to the seaport or to other tables of the various LBCs and Cocoa Board were also suffering. So it's kind of a change that was affecting a lot of persons. So it was a serious matter I was raising. But it is normal sometimes with Parliament that people just oppose issues. But it was an issue that was really very important, that was relevant. What I want is a long-term solution. So things like this will not repeat themselves because cocoa is a regulated market. The cocoa market is a regulated market. You cannot just sell your beans anywhere. That is why writing must be done so that farmers especially don't go through what they went through this year and late last year.
Agric Minister Designate Dr. Akoto Afriye, in response to the issue during his vetting, blamed the delay in Ghana's inability to sell enough contracts to trigger the release of the last tranche of the cocoa syndication loan worth about $190 million because of the COVID-19 pandemic.
And before we go, Guinea has started mass vaccination of people with high risk of contracting the Ebola virus. Now, the exercise, which started yesterday, forms part of an emergency response following the outbreak of the deadly disease and what has claimed about 5 lives. The vaccination was launched in Conakry, a rural community where the first cases were detected on February 14. The exercise, with the support of the World Health Organization and UNICEF, uses the ring strategy where all who have come close to contact with the confirmed Ebola patients are given the vaccines, as well as frontline and health workers. The quick rollout of the Ebola vaccine is due in part of the capacity Guinea built during the 2014 West African outbreak of the deadly disease. And that'll be it for this morning's edition of News in Brief on Morning Update. As always, do log on to myxyzonline.com for more. My name is Wisdom Hedejime. When we return, Eric Ahanyo continues with Morning Update.
Peace of mind is very essential in your journey to success. For Akwesi Papa, peace of mind means having a proper covering over his family. Literally. For Araba, aka Injection Mama, it's about having the funds to complete her advanced nursing course. And as for Corporal Odami, it's as simple as reporting on time for his shifts. Sometimes all you need is a simple push. At Needs Microfinance, we have tailor-made loan packages for salaried workers under the Controller General's Department. With the low interest rate and quick wahala-free process, you are guaranteed of a timely solution to get back that peace of mind, literally in 30 minutes. Needs Microfinance. Growing with you.
If I cry na menyisika, edia ye mefui.
Welcome back to TVXYZ. This morning update, you can follow us on the various platforms we've been announcing. It's now time for some discussion before we look into the newspapers. One thing many Ghanaians are following is the fight against the spread of COVID-19. I'm sure this morning many of us are aware that the first consignment is arriving at the Kotika International Airport. The advertised time was 7 a.m. It's past 7, and as soon as we have a good signal from the airport about the short ceremony planned to receive the items, we'll go there and monitor, follow the statements that will be made. But there is one thing many of us will agree, and it's about the low publicity. The conversations around the vaccine could be a form of sense, at least alerting the public about what is about to happen. We know that when these vaccines arrive, the presidency has said it will be among the first to receive their jabs. Ministers of state, frontline health workers, members of parliament, traditional authorities, the clergy, the Muslim clerics, many of these people are most likely, as we have monitored, to be the first group of people who will be vaccinated. Apart from that, we know that government is planning to vaccinate about 20 million Ghanaians so far from what is being imported from Russia, what is coming in from India, and any other parts of the world as Ghana continues to engage countries around the world. We also know that the international partners, WHO, for example, UNICEF and so on, are supporting us with some packages good enough to help government, because we know times are hard. The economy is strangulated because of COVID-19. Now, if people are not well sensitized, how sure are we that even with so much money announced, $200 million, $150 million, when we spend these on the import of the vaccines, which have a lifespan, depending on how you store it, if people don't participate or run away from being given their jabs, how sure are we that we have insulated ourselves at least 50 to 80% because of the trust in the vaccines that are coming in? So who must be the person leading the campaign to let the Ghanaian public aware that we are ready and all of us should go for it? That is the conversation we want to have this morning. I don't know whether it should be the NCC, whether the media is not doing enough, whether government, and in this case the information ministry, is not really driving it, whether the COVID-19 technical team is sleeping on the job, or we are generally concluding that that is Ghana for you. Just do it and let us come and announce numbers. So I'll be speaking to an expert. Before I do that, I'm told we have him on the line. He's a lecturer. He's at the University of Ghana. Good morning, sir, and thanks for joining our conversation this morning.
Good morning.
Good. First of all, Professor Gordon, I'm not mentioning your name because it's quite difficult for me. So help me. Professor Gordon, is it Akanzuwene?
My name is Gordon Awandare, yes.
Awandare. Okay, what's the middle name? The pronunciation?
Akanzuwene.
Akanzuwene. Okay, what does it mean, sir? Just to welcome you on TVXYZ, Wazor TV, those following us on social media.
It means I will not deny God.
Amen. Amen. Prof, first of all, I think this conversation is for public education, and the concerns will highlight for you to help us and give direction. First, the vaccines are arriving this morning, and hopefully those who will be directly fighting the pandemic should be, all of us will agree, the first to receive their jabs, to at least give them double assurance beyond the PPE of some level of protection. Help us understand what type of vaccine is coming in, and maybe anything we need to know as your first comment, sir.
Okay, thank you. Well, the information we have is that we are getting some doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. And this is part of the COVAX initiative, which is an initiative by the WHO and other partners to mobilize resources to access vaccines and make them available to, African countries. So they are estimating to support us with about 20% of our needs. And so this is the first batch of the allocation that Ghana will receive towards meeting our 20% of our overall needs. And then we will need to pull vaccines from other sources to be able to make up the deficit, to get to the number of vaccines that we need to achieve the herd immunity that is being targeted.
So, Prof, looking at the history around vaccination exercises, especially when people or a section of the public in any country always harbor their own suspicions, what would you say should be the process of helping as many as possible to wholly embrace this exercise to make it successful?
Well, I think that we have to have a very intensive information dissemination campaign. I think the government has started doing that by, holding media briefings and having meetings with various stakeholders. I've been in 2 of such meetings. And so that's the beginning of the process. Now, that has to permeate into the community. And these ideas have to be translated to different languages and broken down into simple, simple language for everybody to understand. So it's going to take a massive effort by the government, the Ministry of Information, the National Commission on Civic Education, and others, to be able to, get the message across that the vaccines are safe. All these vaccines have gone through a very rigorous process to receive approval from various agencies, including our FDA. So they are generally safe, and they have shown the ability to protect people from getting sick when they're exposed to the virus. So we need to embrace this intervention, and everybody should take the vaccine when they get the opportunity, so that we can begin to slow down the transmission of the virus as soon as possible.
Good to know. But Doc, let's do some public education here and address a few concerns some of the Ghanaian, some members of the public we've spoken to have expressed. One has to do with the efficacy, which you have just addressed, and the other one has to do with the uncertainty about communities where not everybody may have the opportunity to be vaccinated. If I live in a place, let's say, let me choose one of the communities in Accra, let's say Jamestown, and 80% of people in Jamestown go through the process and receive their jabs, and 20% deliberately or out of ignorance do not avail themselves to get the vaccine, would it suggest that still the community is well protected, or they are still very vulnerable?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So the concept of herd immunity, as you've heard about, is a situation where a certain critical percentage of the people in the community have received the vaccine, such that, in simple terms, the virus runs out of people to infect. So whilst it will be ideal for everybody to get vaccinated, research shows that you don't need 100% vaccination in order to get to what you call herd immunity. If you get 80%, it's likely that the virus will gradually disappear, because it will be harder and harder for the vaccine to find people to infect, and that would gradually diminish the vaccine spread, and it could eventually eliminate the virus from the community. So yes, 100% would be great, but we don't need 100%. I think if we can cover 80%, would have gone a long way. The virus will be reduced to bare minimum, and eventually may disappear altogether.
Good. So your response opens the page for another follow-up concern, which is, how do we achieve this 70-80%? Perhaps 60 may also be good. Should it be an enforcement exercise where government will make it compulsory or whip people to avail themselves, or we just leave it out that as who is ready, we give you the jab?
Yeah, I don't think we can force people to take a jab. So the lawyers would tell us that would be against their rights. So I don't think we can force them to. I think what we can do is, like you said, when we start administering the vaccine and we do proper monitoring of those who are taking the vaccine and providing data to the community and demonstrating to people that those who have taken the vaccine are protected. If people see that the vaccine is working, then they are likely to go for it. Right now, a lot of the fears is related to people not believing that it will make a difference, or being afraid that they will have some side effects or other undesirable effects. So if people start to take the vaccine and they are doing well, and they are protected from the vaccine, and we can provide data that shows that of this number of people who have taken the vaccine, this percentage of them, have been protected or have not had COVID-19. While those who have not taken, this percentage are coming down with the disease. Then it will start to convince people that it's worth taking it. So I think it has to be true aggressive information dissemination, providing, data in real time, and then using the media to send this message across, in addition to personal testimonies of people who have taken the vaccine and how they have been fine and free of any complications, and how they've been protected even after being exposed to close relatives who have had it, and so on and so forth. So we can only fight it with information. We cannot compel people to take the vaccine.
Yeah, Doc, so at this stage, you are a parasitologist and a lecturer. You are the director in charge of WASIB. From where you sit, and knowing very well the challenges we have had in this country with regards to public education, would you say you are satisfied about where we are now? Because from next week, the jobs will start.
Oh, I don't think we have done enough yet, but it's also the beginning. So I think that there's much room for improvement, and I hope that the information campaign would be ramped up. Let's be clear that these vaccines are going to come in trickles. So we are not going to suddenly see people queuing for vaccines tomorrow or next week or next month. It's going to take a while before we see a significant number of people getting access to the vaccine. So it's going to come in trickles, and they're going to start with frontline workers and high-ranking government officials, critical security personnel, people who are exposed to a lot of risk of being infected based on their jobs. So it's going to be selected groups for a while before we get to a point where the general public can get access to the vaccine. So I think that we still have the time to do the public education campaign and get the message out to the communities before it gets to the time where we will be queuing for vaccines all over the place.
So, Prof, before you go, there is one aspect that you can help us to understand, to allay fears. You earlier spoke about the likely side effects, but I don't think that is a subject for discussion now. But the initial reaction that people may get and may spark some fear. We understand within 2 days, if you have any suspicious complications or reactions, it should be over. I don't understand. Can you walk us through, when you take vaccines, what are the things that are most likely to happen to some people, and if they should be worried or they need to seek some medical care?
Yeah, so, it's very interesting that people are so concerned about these vaccines now. We've been taking many vaccines. Our children have been taking vaccines, all over the place. Take measles, rubella, all kinds of vaccines we take. Yellow fever. And some of these, when you take them, you feel pain in the area where you had the jab for a few days. Some people even have swelling, headaches, a little fever. There are so many minor side effects that come with vaccines. And this can happen to some people. Others don't feel anything. But what we're saying is that these are normal, and we've been experiencing this with all the vaccines we're having already. So it's not new. So if you're having any of these normal vaccine-associated effects, do not panic. Just wait for a few days. If it doesn't go away, then you can go and report it to your doctor. But these are very minor compared to having COVID-19. So let's not worry too much about these minor side effects, which are normal for all vaccines, including those all of us have taken. Many of us have taken vaccines without even knowing. When we were kids, our parents took us to the clinic and we had jabs and we didn't even know. if you have traveled before, you've had a yellow fever vaccine. You know, nobody complained about that. Everybody who travels gets a yellow fever vaccine. No complaints. So let's not, blow things out of proportion here. If there's a serious reaction, of course, you need to seek medical attention, because a small percentage of people may react differently, because we are all different, So there may be a very small percentage of people who have a more serious reaction than usual. And such people should, of course, seek help. But if it's just a normal slight, inconveniences and discomfort here and there, let's just wait it out. It'll be fine. There's no need to panic.
Yeah, Doc, it's good to hear, especially when you have educated us that it's better to go through those minor reactions than to suffer COVID. But, Doc, there's one part of the male anatomy which is very vital to them. And anytime they hear something can make that organ inactive, a lot of men rather decide to protect it. And I'm sure you know what it is. Now, there are rumors about erectile dysfunction. Help me and those who are scared, because we cherish that organ, to understand that there's no cause to worry. Well,
as far as I know, all the reports of such effects have come from getting the disease itself, not from getting the vaccine. So if you're actually afraid of these types of effects on you, then you should be first in line to get a vaccine, because if you get a disease, these effects will be much more severe on you if you are one of those people who are susceptible to such effects. So please, first of all, there's no hard evidence about these side effects. People have all kinds of pre-existing conditions which make them susceptible to some of these complications. So it's not a general thing that everybody will experience these complications. Okay, so if you are susceptible to having complications associated with sexual dysfunction, it could be related to pre-existing conditions such as diabetes, hypertension, and others, which then get complicated by the infection. So